Let's take a look at finding x-intercepts on a TI-84 plus calculator. First one we'll take a look at is this one. This is a linear. We got f of x is equal to 3x minus 1. Remember, f of x is the same as y, so we got y is equal to 3x minus 1. Now, if I was doing this by hand, which we're going to use a calculator here in a second, but to find the intercepts, to find the x-intercepts, you always plug 0 into the other variable. So we plug 0 in for y, and we get 0 is equal to 3x minus 1. Now, I know this is a pretty simple one. You could just solve it, but let's take a look at how to do it on the calculator. We're going to go to y equals, and we'll put 3x minus 1 on y1, and then we'll down arrow to y2 and we'll put a 0 there. What we're doing is we're putting one side of the equality on y1 and we're putting the other side on y2. Okay, well, now we're going to do a second trace, and we're going to choose the intersect. So choose the fifth one. I'll go ahead and press the 5, the number in front of it. Now our answer is going to be where it crosses the x-axis. Now it comes up and asks us for first curve, so we'll do enter on that. Comes up and asks us for second curve, so we'll do enter on that. For the guess, typically you input an x value close to the answer you're trying to find, though there are a couple other ways to do it. We think it's I don't know, somewhere between 0 and 1, so we just put 0 in for the guess, and then press enter, and it gives us this value. Well, we don't want decimals, but it is in the x. X equals this. So if I exit out, I do second mode, and then I push my x key, and then do math, enter, enter. That'll change the value that was stored in x to fraction. So this tells us that our x-intercept is 1/3. We could write that in point form if we wanted to, or simply that way. Let's take a look at this one. That's our first example. This one we've got a quadratic. So we got f of x is equal to x squared minus 6x minus 7. Again, to find the x-intercept, you always plug 0 into the other variable, and the f of x remembers y. So we'd have 0 is equal to x squared minus 6x minus 7. We're still following the same idea. We're putting this on y1, and we're putting this on y2. And we're finding out where they intersect, which is where it crosses the x-axis. So let's plug this one in. So I go back to y equals, clear. Then I got my x key, my x squared, minus 6x, minus 7. You should already have 0 on y2, but if you don't, down arrow to y2, put a 0 there. Process does not work unless you have a 0 on y2. Then we'll do second trace, choose intersect again, so number 5. Now our answer is where it crosses the x-axis. Now this one looks like it crosses at -1. So I'll do enter on first curve, enter on second curve, and for my guess, instead of putting an x value close to your answer, you can actually put in what you think the answer is. So I could put in -1, and then press enter. And it comes back and indeed tells us that our first x-intercept is -1. Now we got another x-intercept. We see it crosses the x-axis over here too. Well, we'll do second trace, and we'll choose intersect, number 5 again. Enter on first curve, enter on second curve. Instead of inputting the guess, you can use your arrow keys to move your cursor over closer to the one you're trying to find. Now it doesn't have to be right on top of it, just has to be somewhat close to it. Don't be too far away though, or sometimes it does weird things. So that's good right there. So I'll press enter. And then we find out our second intercept is x equals 7. So those will be our two x-intercepts. Now you can use that moving your cursor over close to the one you're trying to find and then pressing enter for the guess. You can use that on every one of them, except if it comes down and touches at a point. Like if it came down and touched at this point, I didn't draw that very well, but came down and touched there, and went back up. If you tried to use your arrow keys to go over there, it would not work well. In this case, you have to actually input the answer for the guess in order to get the answer. I mean, you could visually look at it and see, but we'd get this. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. What would that be? X minus 2. Okay, so I do clear, and I'll do begin in parentheses, x minus 2, close parentheses, squared, and press graph. Notice it's coming down, touching at the point, and going back up. Well, if I did my second trace, watch it work. Choose intersect. And I already have 0 on y2, so I do enter on first curve, enter on second curve, and for the guess, let me put in 1. Or actually, I could use my arrow keys, move it over right there, and press enter. Error, no sign change. Okay, it does weird things, doesn't it? Well, let me go back here, do second trace, choose intersect. If I do enter on first curve, enter on second curve, and I think it's touching a 2, if I put 2 in for my guess, comes back and tells us indeed the x-intercept is x equals 2. So again, it does weird things when it touches at a point. There you have to actually input your answer to get the answer. You can't use the arrow method that some people seem to like. And again, to get out of graph mode, you do second mode. And now it's finding x-intercepts on a TI-84 plus calculator.